This
capture exactly
conference
what
will
you
now be recorded.
go ahead, Don.
Yeah, so all I'm doing here during the dead time is doing a commercial break on our organization. And one other thing I'd like to highlight, we're doing these quarterly community updates. So make sure that people know that that's going to be our next opportunity for telling the world. Well, we have the Global Summit coming up as well. Don't let me forget that. But we have this community update call, and that's going to be coming in. The community update call this time will be actually a review of Global Summit. As you may recall, where was that? Oh, Global Summit is a commercial that I'm sure you're going to be talking about a little bit. I'm going to leave that to you, but I'm trying to kill your dead time here. And then for the purpose of those that are recording, if anyone comes back to look at this, if there's other participation products or groups you want to look to, we got the QR codes that take you to every one of these work streams that are happening. And there's a lot happening out there. And that's all I was really wanting to do. I could have done a more organized presentation for your intro, but I figured I'd fill you up your dead time and hand it back to you, John. So it's back to you, sir.
No worries. Actually, since we are on the slide, talking about call to action, you know, in previous calls we have had a lot of chatter with regards to, hey, is there going to be a CDU spec or a CDU requirements document of some kind? And a lot of vendors who manufacture door heat exchangers also manufacture CDUs. So is that so with regards to that, would that be under ACF?
So great point. And as we speak right now, we do have a CDU discussions going on at the Advanced Cooling Facility call. Just Tuesday of this week, they're having that. So yes, we're first starting with descriptive, and then maybe if we see an opportunity to get prescriptive, we might do that. When they say descriptive, we're just right now going through helping people understand the functions and maybe things to consider when they're designing design guidance around the CDUs. But then somewhere in there in the future, we may want to get not necessarily prescriptive, but come up with some parameters where CDU manufacturers should seek to provide performance comparisons. The classic example being there's you can take a 6-inch CDU and you can rate it to a CDU with 6-inch piping, and you might rate it to 2.3 megawatt with a 36-degree delta T, but is that a realistic number for the industry to use for comparison? Can we start with that? I don't want to take over your call, but if these discussions are something of interest, that is where the ACF community is jumping in. So yes, did I answer your question, John?
Yeah, and I think maybe one thing that'll be useful for us to understand is, are we still looking for participation, or do we have enough folks already involved in sort of helping define that? So yeah.
We are definitely looking for participation, especially for those that are interested. So if you're a manufacturer of CDUs, or if you have we need direction, and to a large extent, insights from cloud providers would provide great direction. What are they looking for? Is there a comparison point that people would like to see all CDUs held to, like hypothetically just that 14-degree delta T sort of thing? Is that a number that would help if everyone quoted a capacity for 14 degrees delta T? And I know there's some other things that influence your capacities besides that, but those would be some input points. So yes, John Minash is heading that up. I'm trying to help him out with getting qualified people. Right now, we're still doing this in an open forum discussion. Once we get a dance team together, we will probably pull together a more private discussion to get work done, and then go back and share it at the open environment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And as you were talking about this, more and more vendors are joining the call. So Don, one thing I'll do is when I send out the meeting notes, I can probably follow up with John Minosh and see if we can get hey, this is what we're looking for, and this is when the CDU group is going to start meeting, because we have a bunch of suppliers on the call, so I'm sure they would love to want to be involved. I mean, I see Motorware, Vertiv, Nvent, and Boyd on the call, so I think that's a pretty good starting point.
It's a fantastic starting point. Please, I don't want to take any more of your call, but please, if anyone on this call wants to know more about this, send an email to me and to John Minash soon. Okay. Thank you very much. And again, I don't want to take over your call.
Yeah. So Don, one last thing, if you don't mind putting your OCP email address as well as John Minoche's email address in the chat, I think that might be a good starting point.
I will do that. Thank you. I'm going to go. It's taking a couple minutes. I'm probably going on mute while I do this. Does that make sense? And you can take back the call if you'd like, or the screen.
Yes. Yep. Please. All right. Let me share my screen. All right. Can everyone? Seems not yet. Oh, there we go. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Just quickly want to go over the agenda. So, this is the first call we've had in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, we've been fairly busy. Just want to go over the agenda real quick. So the groups, so the OCP sort of management has decided to basically give the groups.io ownership over to the project leads. So you guys may have seen a bunch of meeting cancellations and new meeting invitations from groups.io for the Door Heat Exchanger effort. So considering that went out yesterday, I really appreciate everyone who's shown up to the call. Hopefully, once this is more clear, we'll have more and more folks on the call moving forward. Considering that this was done yesterday, I did include a bunch of the folks who've been sort of in communication directly using my email address. So one thing I want to make sure is moving forward, all future communication will be routed through the groups.io process. So if you haven't already signed up to the OCP ACS Door Heat Exchanger group, please do so. Between now and the next call. So the way that works is you go to groups.io, you go to the OCP ACS Door Heat Exchanger subproject, and then you can subscribe by basically sending an email. So let me just put this in the chat because I'm not sure if everyone who's on the call currently has access to this link or access to the Google Doc that I'm going over. So let me just I've just posted it in the chat thread, and if you already are and subscribe to the Door Heat Exchanger community through the groups.io interface, please do so, because all future comms will be going through this platform. Before I move forward, does anyone have any questions on what I just went over? All right. Moving ahead, Don just quickly touched on the OCP Regional Summit. Just want to remind everyone this is taking place in Prague on the 19th and 20th of April. Juan Carlos is going to be presenting the Door Heat Exchanger update. And if anyone on the call is planning to be at the regional summit in Prague, please please do help publicize the Door Heat Exchanger update under the cooling environments track, and please be there to support Juan Carlos as he goes over the material. We do have feedback on the slides. So the door heat, in relation to the door heat exchanger community, we have two presentations. One of them is the sub-project update, which Juan Carlos will be presenting. And then the other is densifying modular data centers with hybrid cooling, which Carl Rabe, who is the sub-project lead for modular data centers under data center facilities, is going to be presenting that. So, neither Juan Carlos or Carla on the call, so I don't want to belabor that point too much, but we need to have our final decks in by the end of next week. In the meantime, just wanted to provide some updates to the community based on ongoing efforts. In relation to the modular data center with hybrid cooling, just want to quickly show what the material will look like for the presentation. When we talk about hybrid cooling, what exactly are we talking about? We're talking about direct to chip cold plates with door heat exchanger solution. So the rack is 100% liquid cooled. There's the potential of leveraging Open Rack V3 that has liquid cooling built into the system. We've done a bunch of analysis which shows that 50 kilowatt rack is definitely doable. And then there's a bunch of analysis we can do based on a modular data center layout. And that's basically going to be the focus of this contribution, which is based on my last call with Carl, is going to be either a case study or a white paper, probably not a specification because that would require a CLA. And then, depending on how interest builds on this topic, we can follow up with the specification at a later time. So in terms of next steps, we're going to compile a list of contributors. So I'm going to be reaching out to a bunch of the folks on the call, to sort of solicit participation in helping us develop and contribute this effort. And then there'll be a separate meeting series to work on the document. And what's going to happen is on these community calls, the door heat exchanger community calls, we'll just be providing updates on these different efforts. And the intention is going to be, if we have some general questions for the wider community to help us ensure that we are positioning these contributions appropriately, that's what we'll be circling back with the general community for input, and then most probably also for final reviews before the contributions are made. So unfortunately, Carl is not able to make today's call, but there's been a bunch of progress on the modular data center with hybrid cooling. And if you happen to be in Prague for the regional summit, please do attend his presentation. It'll be under the data center facilities track. Any questions on this topic before I move forward to the next one? Okay. The next is I had an offline discussion with Danfoss about the potential of contributing a white paper on comparing fin tube and aluminum microchannel coil variants for door heat exchanger solutions. I have Sankar on the call, who has, who was involved in that conversation and has an outline. So, Sankar, if I give you presenter rights, would you mind quickly going over the initial outline?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks. I can do that.
All right, let me make you presenter.
Okay, so let me see if you can. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, my name is Shankar. I've been part of some other OCP committees, but this is my first time in the door heat exchanger. So thrilled to be here, and yeah, it's exciting the work that you guys are doing. So, and John, thanks for letting me let me present this outline. As John said, I had an offline discussion with him on microchannels being used for rare door heat exchangers. I don't know the community how much you're aware with microchannels and its applicability. So that's when John said, "Okay, let's present to the community, and see the response, and maybe we can develop a white paper um, to introduce the technology and also educate the community on this heat exchanger technology." So I just came up with a very rough draft because we just had the discussion last week. So this is very rough draft, which I would be very happy to get inputs from you guys to make this more effective and educative as much as possible. So if you look at what I want to include in this white paper, which could also develop into a presentation at one of the OCP global summits, is first, just a quick background on the rare door heat exchanger and heat exchanger applications, how it is used in the current technology that is around the rare door heat exchanger. Then I would like to introduce microchannel heat exchangers, um, what it is, advantages of microchannel heat exchangers from a thermal and hydrodynamic perspective. Then just the first part would be just from a heat exchanger perspective, what are the advantages? Then coming from a heat exchanger to more from a system level, what could be the other advantages that are not very obvious from a heat exchanger, but from an overall system, what could be the benefits? And then, of course, third would be commercial advantages of using a microchannel. So those would be that would be the third topic that would cover. And then I would like to present a case study, which could be a two-part case study comparing a fin and tube heat exchangers and microchannel heat exchangers when applied to two different form factors in an in-rack cooling. So one could be one is the rear door heat exchanger, and the other is a in-rack heat exchanger. So those are two form factors that we can compare, all from a thermal perspective and also from an overall system perspective, how it could benefit the design or the heat transfer capabilities of the system. So okay, then after that, uh, of course, any new technology, um, the current technology is fin and tube, so new technology always comes with its own questions, its own challenges, I would say. But so some of the things that we know is a question about material compatibility, um, uh, because aluminum microchannel heat exchangers are all aluminum. So material compatibility and the challenges that comes with this, how can we overcome those? Specifically deal with the facility water loop or a technical water loop. How can we, if is that a concern, or if it is a concern, how can we tackle that? And then finally discuss, okay, what needs to be done to bring this very good heat exchanger technology into in-rack applications. So what work needs to be done in that front? So these are uh, major sections that I would like in this white paper. Of course, I mean, we don't want the white paper to be like 5 or 6 pages long. I don't know about OCP how big the white papers typically are, but most of the white papers I worked typically are two pages or at max 3 pages. So we will have to see how we can uh, include a lot of this content into such a short body. So yeah, that's what I had from just presenting it to the community. But I'm open for questions, comments, criticisms, anything.
Yeah, thanks, Shankar. Anyone on the call have any questions or any input? That would be useful here, please.
I'm assuming that the application that you're talking about is the hybrid cooling and not just cooling with facility water.
It could be both application for hybrid cooling and also just the rear door with supplied with the facility water.
But typically microchannel things have relatively small channels. That's why they're called microchannel. And typically facility water has got all kinds of crap in it. And I would think you'd have challenges trying to keep the microchannels from clogging if you were just running unfiltered facility water into a microchannel cooler.
Yeah,
you
it's
need a CDU
no,
for that, then.
we have a. I mean, I would talk about Danfoss specifically. Is that we have different types of microchannel tubes designs that we do, and one of the tube design is specifically for these kind of glycol applications. It has longer ports, so even though it's considered a microchannel, I would personally call it a mini channel. So the ports are not in the micron ranges; it's in the millimeter ranges, and that is specifically designed for glycol applications. And we use it in chiller-free cooling applications and things like that. So yeah, it could be used. It was not there before, but now it is there. I mean, in fact, if you look at the radiator that you have in your car, is a microchannel.
Okay, so this is something that should be in the white paper then, because I think most people are going to be under the impression that microchannel is, microns channels.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yeah, that's the whole point. I think John and I was thinking was, okay, how can we educate the community and inform that, okay, there are new technologies new things out there. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think most probably this would be covered under the second section, right, which is introduction to microchannels. Is basically, what sort of ranges are we talking about, right? And then what are the benefits? Then it automatically transitions into the third section, which is talking about advantages. So probably thermal and hydrodynamic benefits would probably be correlated with the channel size, right, or the channel dimension, and so on and so forth. I think Benny had a question, right? Sorry, I know Philip also wants to speak up, but just want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity.
I need to drop, but I was wondering if manufacturing considerations, if we should add manufacturing considerations to this, because it's great and easy to build huge fin and tube heat exchangers, but microchannel heat exchangers are something different. And I'm sorry, I need to go.
No worries, Philip. Thanks for joining.
I think that encapsulates the question correctly. That it was Philip. I haven't still recognized all the voices, so yeah, it will take me a couple of calls, but
yeah, it's the physical size that's different. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, just a quick question, I guess, from my end, Sankar, in terms of is there typically a large increase in the DP for the air? Like, is there if you replace a traditional heat exchanger, door heat exchanger with a microchannel, do you need to increase the fan power? Is there an impact to the fan power?
It actually decreases the fan power because the microchannel has a much streamlined hydrodynamic performance. So for a given capacity, for the given heat transfer, you would need, there are three variables here: the capacity, the fan power, and the airflow. Okay, so if you have the same fan power, then you get more airflow through the microchannel compared to a finite tube. And if you still want to keep the same airflow, then you can drop the fan power to get the same airflow, because the air side pressure drop on a microchannel would be smaller compared to a finite tube of the same capacity.
Okay.
Makes sense?
What other infrastructures, is there any other infrastructure that would be required for microchannel versus the microchannel rear door heat exchanger versus the pin and tube? Other than
I mean, from a OEM perspective, or I mean, no, it'll be a purchase component for the OEM. So I mean, all the infrastructure that is needed would be at the supplier part, whoever that is, of the microchannel manufacturer part. So from an OEM side, there wouldn't be any infrastructure implications.
For the facility when it's being installed, is going to need
Okay. I mean, that's I think I will try to cover that in the material compatibility challenges portion. I mean, I would like to get information on, okay, what is the typical water quality and everything that someone pointed out in the first question, right? So most glycol applications should be okay. I mean, of course, if it is too bad, then yeah, we'll have to see what is the range of acceptable quality required. But I mean, this is used picking up very rapidly in the free cooling chiller applications where the glycol quality is not super anyway. So yeah,
Okay.
but that is something that we need to look into, and I will include that with help from the community members. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? Is because unfortunately the only references we have when it comes to the quality of facility water loops and technical water loops is ASHRAE. So maybe that's what we look at, and then we make comments in relation to that. Unless we have end users, right, or folks with deployment experience, and maybe they can help us sort of talk beyond ASHRAE guidance also. So that's a great point. Any other questions? All right, going once, going twice. All right. Sankar, thanks a lot. And also great that you are capturing these notes here. Do you mind sending me this file after the call?
Yes, I will send
I
this
think
to you.
one thing we might do is, maybe convert this into a GDoc that's on the OCP system, and then that way anyone can sort of follow up and ask any other questions.
Sure, of
It'll
course.
be
Yeah.
easier for us to practice this way too. But thanks so much. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you for the comments. I think I captured. If I missed any comment, please feel free to add once we put it there. Okay. So let me.
All right. Okay, and then the last update to go over today is I had a conversation with Jabari on the ACS door heat exchanger requirements document. So this document has been contributed a while ago, and I believe in ACS in general, there is a move to publish a second revision that follows a certain format that's being held consistent across, for now, I guess, immersion as well as cold plate requirements. So this is just wanted to give a heads up to the community. It was just an initial conversation with Jabari, and we'll probably initiate this track after we have a better understanding of what we're looking to change or update as part of a revision to. Jabari, you want to add anything to that? And apologies for putting you on the spot.
No, that's fine. So yeah, like John said, we just kind of kicked this off yesterday. We'll need a couple weeks to kind of look at what's changed, what we need to update in the document, get some, make sure it's matching the other ACS topology documents like cold plate. and immersion, so that there's some consistency around the requirements. Because remember, we are making these documents not for us, but for people in the industry to use, right? So yeah, that is gonna kick off, and hopefully you should have something by this summer in time for the next summit.
Yeah, and we'll probably also chat with the ACF community to see if there's any information that we can probably add to the requirements document that will help streamline details related to, let's say, delta T's or operating pressure, or other information that would be helpful for folks that are more focused on the facility side. So if you're going to do a Rev 2, we just want to make sure that it's something that addresses as many things as possible. So yeah. So hopefully we will have an update in the next couple of meetings. I see Ashwin on the call. I'm not trying to call anyone out, but I believe the cold plate community is already working on a Rev 2. So we'll probably reach out to our our fellow ACS sub projects to see how they have gone through the process of working on this Rev 2 format. So just FYI. All right. And then apart from that, some other quick updates. The 1 megawatt door heat exchanger case study. I think both John Gross and I have sort of sent an email to Michael Schill about asking OCP for updates on the reference design submission requirements. Haven't heard back yet. I'll try to circle back before the next call because I think we're sort of waiting on this information, before we can make any progress in this area. On the facility door heat exchanger, I reached out to Saket, and the current guidance is to reconvene in early May. I think I think everyone's aware of of what's happening in the industry right now. I think once we sort of get over this uncertainty, we'll probably reconvene discussions related to how we could look at the door heat exchanger being on the facility side. So just an FYI. And that's all we had on the agenda. I I think Carl just joined. Hey, Carl.
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah. Yeah, we were almost done with the meeting. What I did share on the modular data center side was that we are working on the final version of the deck for the regional summit. And then we also chatted about maybe starting with a case study of a white paper and then maybe moving to a specification at a later time based on interest. And then also talked about next steps, which is compiling a list of contributors and then setting up a meeting series to work on the document. Is there anything else you'd like to maybe share on the topic of modular data center with hybrid cooling?
I think you have summarized it very well. And I really like the idea of, reaching out to the contributors and to have a list and approach them up front, and then just form a small coalition who's going to work on this together.
Yep. And the latest guidance from OCP has been we'll use the groups.io interface for the community calls, but for separate calls where we focus on specific contribution areas, that can be set up privately. So I think whoever is leading the effort can sort of set that up using their own account. So, but anyway, yeah, those are the next steps, and we'll be reaching out to appropriate partners accordingly.
No, perfect. Then I think I don't really have anything else to share other than I think we will be seeing quite surprising density with what we with the ideas that we came up already. I think that will be quite interesting to share with everyone.
Yep, agree. Sorry, that's all we had for the agenda today. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up? If not, I'll be happy to give almost 20 minutes back to everyone.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good to me.
Okay.
John?
So just
John?
one last time, please make sure to sign up if you haven't already to the Dough Heat Exchanger groups.io. I sent a link in the chat thread. And sorry, I think I heard someone speak up real quick.
Yeah, John, it's me. I am Juan. We can talk together for 2 minutes after this meeting, if you have time.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I can stop recording, and once everyone's dropped off the call, we can continue chatting.
Yeah. No problem.
Okay. All right. That's it. Thanks all for joining, and see you at the next Dough Heat Exchanger call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. See you.
See you.
See you.